Peeps, I got to hear your opinion about the Parsons trade. So, Gray Wolf, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. As the Dallas Cowboys officially traded their disgruntled superstar who wanted to get paid, Jerry Jones said he wanted to pay him. They had a handshake agreement, but Micah wanted to make things official with his agent. That's not how Jerry does business. Ultimately, they were unable to come to a resolution, and Micah Parsons is no longer a Dallas Cowboy, and he has been shipped off to Green Bay, Wisconsin to become a Packer. And the compensation of this trade is interesting, depending on who you ask. Micah Parsons was traded to Green Bay for defensive tackle Kenny Clark of the Packers, formerly of the Packers, and 2 first-round picks in 2026 and 2027. So this is a really interesting move, and I know if Kevin was here right now, he's celebrating his anniversary today. Congratulations to Kevin and Alyssa on another anniversary. I believe that this is 3 years for them, and so shout out to them. I hope that they're enjoying their trip. But if Kevin was here right now, he would be laughing and dancing on the Dallas Cowboys' grave as the passionate Philadelphia Eagles fan that he is. But Jaevon, I'm going to toss it to you first. What was your reaction to the Cowboys trading Micah Parsons within the NFC to Green Bay and the Packers?
Yeah, I was stunned. I honestly couldn't believe Jerry traded Micah Parsons, let alone to the Packers of all players or of all teams. But you were hearing rumblings that there are several teams that were interested. And then, Jerry comes out, we're not trading Micah Parsons. We're not trading Micah Parsons. Deny, as most GMs would do. But when you start to see that hey, Micah, come to the Falcons. He's eating the thing of nachos in the locker room. Hits him with the call me. You see Micah on the training table, laid out, hood on, sleep. He was probably asleep for about 30 minutes, however long he was asleep. He was when you start seeing things like that, you're like, oh yeah, he's checked out. And we were talking about like the Micah Parsons deal and the Trey Hendrickson and the Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, you could see his demeanor around the organization. He's going up to Jane Daniels' mom. He's talking to Adam Peters like during practice. Like he's around. Like Micah is like, kind of off to the side, not really. He's not practicing. He's, they're asking him questions about like what's been going on. He's, saying he's taking shots at Jerry during practice. Jerry's taking shots back at him. You could just see the difference between the two different situations. And I don't think any one of us thought that Terry McLaurin was actually going to get traded based off of what he did for the franchise last year and how badly he meant to that franchise versus the Micah Parsons thing. He wrote like a 8-page essay in the notes app and was like, yeah, like I don't want to play for Dallas anymore, this, that, and the third. And that was that. And nothing really ever materialized until, a few days ago. And all of a sudden, Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer, which is weird because you trade him in the NFC. You only get 2 first-round picks. A lot of people think that the Cowboys ended up getting fleeced because Micah Parsons is, I would consider, a generational talent at the pass rusher position, just given his age and what he's already accomplished and obviously the money that he got, which is pretty insane. I don't think Dallas was anywhere in that realm of giving him that amount of money. But I do think as far as the Green Bay side, Green Bay just got a hell of a lot better. There's been a bunch of people already picking Green Bay to win that division, let alone win the NFC. You look at it from they're one of the younger teams in the NFL, and you add a guy like Micah Parsons at that pass rushing position, they're already better. And obviously you're bringing back pretty much a lot of your core for the offense. Jordan Love's coming back. Josh Jacobs is in for another season who's already been paid. You had a guy in Matthew Golden, who a lot of people aren't talking about, who's going to be sneaky really good for this offense. Given I don't know if Christian Watson is he healthy currently? Because I would see that him and Golden are pretty redundant in the how they play and their play styles is very similar. So I would assume that Matthew Golden would get a lot of what Christian would be getting in that offense, and he's going to be a plug and play type of guy right away. But this Packers team is, I mean, sky's the limit for them. They could win the division, get out of the NFC. Just all depending on how everything goes within the division, because that division is one of the tougher divisions in football. So Michael Parsons is a Cowboy. That's just crazy to say. The city of Dallas has now traded away Michael Parsons and Luka Doncic. So Cowboy fans and Mavericks fans can now just kind of just sulk over together and just crack a cold one and just reminisce the good old times.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not a fan of Dallas sports teams, because 2025 has not been kind to fans in Dallas and Texas, for that matter. And regarding Christian Watson, he's still working his way back from a torn ACL that he suffered in Week 18 of last year, and so it'll be a bit till he is able to come back, and that's what makes the Matthew Golden draft in the first round so big for them. And Keith, before I get your thoughts on this trade, I wanted to highlight another comment from Grey Wolf, who says, and since we're talking about gambling, I'm taking Philly over Cowgirls via Prize Picks. And so shout out to Prize Picks. You should sponsor our podcast. But Keith, when it comes to Micah Parsons being traded to the Packers and the compensation for the trade, what was your reaction?
It's the typical Cowboys. This is what they do. They have always been a team that, just for all the glamour and all the glitz and all the publicity, they are losers. That's what they are. They've been losers for 20 plus years. The GM has been a loser. The owner's been a loser. The quarterback's been a loser. We'll get into that later. But first of all, I don't want to make this a situation where we say, okay, how dare the Cowboys trade Micah Parsons? If you wanted to trade Micah Parsons, I understand. Micah Parsons has never had more than 12 sacks in a single season. He is non-existent in the running game. He disappears. He disappeared when he played his new team, the Green Bay Packers. And so I understand if you are the Cowboys and you say the rumor was we're going to offer him between 40 to 42 million, and that's our highest offer. I get it, because in the end, that's only like $5 million less than what the Packers are offering, and there's no state income tax in the state of Texas. You can make that up in different ways if you're Mulligetta and Micah Parsons. But this is the Cowboys. They trade him 2 weeks before the season starts. And so you're saying to yourself, yeah, you got 2 first-round picks. I like Kenny Clark. He's not going to write home about. I think he's a middle-of-the-road defensive tackle. But, my God, like, why would you not trade him if you knew you couldn't get a deal done before the draft? So you could use one of those first-round picks on a Matthew Golden. Maybe you trade up and get another pass rusher, Shamar Stewart. No, everything the Cowboys do does not make sense. Like Vaughn said, Jerry Jones for weeks said, I'm not trading Micah Parsons. And then he trades him. So I don't know what it is. I will say this, though. The Cowboys, ironically, might have put themselves in a better position by not signing Micah Parsons. And I say that for this reason. As you look at me so weird in the top left box. The Cowboys are not going to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't think I'm telling anybody anything different in this panel. They're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. They're not going to win the Super Bowl next year. They might not win it for the next 5 years. We might get GTA 6 before the Cowboys even make it to another NFC championship. So you have to factor that in. So you take that $40 million you would have spent on Micah Parsons, and now you can look to the future. Hopefully you can hit the reset button. And we don't know what's going to happen a couple years from now, but I'm just going to spoil some of my picks here. I don't even have the Cowboys as a top 3 team this year in their entire division. So do with that what you will, but the Cowboys were not going to compete this year. Micah Parsons, he gets to go and compete for a championship with Green Bay, who, I don't want to spoil the whole thing, I got them going deep this year. They've got the roster to do it. You add Micah Parsons. The back thing is a little scary. A lot of medical experts say if it's just tightness, then he'll be fine. But at the same time, the Cowboys, if you don't like the move, that's fine. I think there's a debate that could be had for it's a good move, but it's the wrong timing. And as per normal for the Dallas Cowboys, they just can't seem to get it right, no matter if it's off-season, regular season, and surely the postseason. which they won't be seeing for a long time at this rate.
Yeah, and to Keith's point about the Cowboys not particularly having a shot at the Super Bowl this year, or at least from us observing before the season starts, things could quickly change. But that reminds me of my favorite meme that we love to show here on Stats Over Politics, and it is the Dallas Cowboys cycle, which is where the season starts, they win some games, the fans get their hopes up, they say, "We them boys, this is our year." Then they choke in the playoffs, and on this meme, it circles "We are here," because this is my favorite meme to post after the season comes to an end when the Cowboys choke in the playoffs. And following the Micah Parsons trade, and if Keith's picks that he was alluding to are correct, and they're not even top 3 in their own division, then they may not even get an opportunity to choke in the playoffs. But so I want to get your thoughts on the Micah Parsons trade, because it definitely seemed like the Cowboys and him weren't going to come to a deal. And so he was going to get shipped off somewhere. But for him to get shipped off to Green Bay, and for the compensation in which the Jones family received, which Jerry tried to spin in a positive way, but you can't. I'll just leave it there. Marcellus, what was your reaction to this trade?
Honestly, I think that Micah was more based off of a win now, like I want to win now, and he wasn't getting that win now feeling in Dallas because of the turmoil that Dallas has been in over the span of God, I can't even really remember since the last time they went to the NFC Championship. I guess you can say that was the last time Micah was truly, really relevant in a win now basis with that organization. So for him to want to get out of there, he had the want to get out of there because games he can't go out there and throw the ball. He's a defensive player. It's hard to say that he doesn't show up because if he's the most stout person on your defense, it's not hard to scheme up one player on defense, no matter what position you put him at, whether I was back or stun him inside off the edge. It was just purely just solely on him, and it was a win now basis. I feel like in Green Bay, he really does get the opportunity to be able to be a part of a better defense, a true core defense. They got guys. I'm more convinced that Green Bay came out on top because it really didn't take much for them to have to get him, and they didn't part ways with much. So those 2 picks, I think Green Bay is more focused on a win now basis than Dallas probably is going to be over the next 5 years.
Definitely. And before we move on from this topic, I just wanted to highlight something that was said to me from a passionate Dallas Cowboys fan, and that's my friend Bob, who we've talked about on this podcast before. Because I sent Bob a meme of Conan O'Brien wearing a cheese head, and he proceeded to not text me back until 28 hours later. And he just sent me a screenshot from StatMuse that says, Micah Parsons has had 8 solo tackles, 10 assists, and 1 sack in 4 games in the playoffs in his career. And Bob says, I'm okay with it. He's a ghost when the lights get bright. Now we have roster flexibility with the second most cap space in the league and 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years. Doesn't matter if you have 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years if none of those first-round picks turn into the player that Micah Parsons was. And obviously, you're not going to go for an edge rusher with all 4 of those picks, which means your likelihood to find another Micah Parsons with 1 or 2 picks is very low. And so I just had to shout that out because that justification for trading Micah Parsons, I just didn't understand. And I let Bob know that. And I even said, so if you're okay with it, why did it take you 28 hours to respond? He just said he was busy. Okay. All right, Bob. Well, Cowboys fans are going to cope how they can cope. And, I'm looking out for Dallas fans at this point. Between Luka Doncic being traded to now Micah Parsons, as Jaevon said earlier, it's tough for fans in Dallas and the state of Texas. And we're keeping an eye out for you guys. And we're hoping the best because I think for once we can finally put that Cowboys cycle to rest, that this will not be this year for them. They are not them boys this year. All they will be is trying to compete for a wild card spot at best as we keep things moving.